Now I know I'm kind of fast in that last example, so let's look at a little example, and hopefully you see this a couple more times, it'll make sense. So the limit as x approaches infinity of this function. Now when I first examine it, I'm just saying that as x approaches infinity, the numerator here is getting very large. This is obviously going to be huge. We'll say it's a huge number. Actually, it's approaching infinity. As x is approaching infinity, the numerator is approaching infinity. Furthermore, the denominator is also getting huge. It also is approaching infinity. So as x approaches infinity, if I'm using that technique, it looks like it's approaching infinity over infinity. But this is an indeterminate form. So this is kind of useless information. Sad frowny face right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the trick, which was look at the largest term, divide by that factor, and then reevaluate the limit. So I'm going to factor out an x squared from everything. My numerator becomes x squared times 3 plus, I'm factoring out an x squared here, so that leaves me with 1 over x squared. That's kind of weird first. Then the denominator becomes, well, I'm going to factor out an x squared there, and I get an 4 plus 2 over x squared. Great. Let me move this up. Now I want to evaluate the limit of this as x approaches infinity. First thing you should notice is that I have an x squared here and an x squared there on the numerator and denominator, so they cancel. Now, as x approaches infinity, that 3 just stays there. Nothing changes there. So I'm left with a 3 on top. As x approaches infinity here, this becomes infinity. 1 over infinity, or 1 over a huge number, is like 1 over 0. So this is actually like a 0 term. This term gets tiny. So on the top I have 3 plus 0. On the bottom the same thing happens. As x approaches infinity, well, that's the same as 4. Nothing changed to that number. And here, as this becomes huge, this fraction becomes tiny. 2 over a huge number is 0. So much like this term went to 0, this term is also going to 0. So I have on the numerator 3 plus 0 and the denominator 4 plus 0. So this limit as x approaches infinity is 3 over 4.